Welcome to Issues That Matter. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is my two good friends from New York City, one from Queens, Steve Bihar, and Blake Morris is from Brooklyn. And we're here to talk about George Santos. We haven't had a conversation in a while because, the fact that I was out of commission for a while and then, but I did keep up with everything that was going on, and it's totally amazing. And what's really amazing is when the debt ceiling thing came up last week, and McCarthy got it by 4 votes, and one of them was George Santos. So as much as Santos might not be well liked in the district, McCarthy really needs him. What's your feeling, Steve? Since Blake, since we last talked.
Well, I'll say, it was pretty clear from the beginning that McCarthy needed this guy. And, that's why McCarthy's never said a bad word about him. It's pretty amazing where, tomorrow's May and McCarthy has never said a bad word about this guy. Mm-hmm. And it's this symbiotic relationship that, they need each other.
Right.
It's kind of frightening, because, Santos, obviously there's a lot of Republicans who have turned against him, including his colleagues out on Long Island. But McCarthy needs that vote. What is he's got? He's got a 4-member, I believe, majority now. And, in a 4-member majority, there are certain districts that are purple that aren't going to vote with you all the time. So he needs every vote he has.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Blake?
I think Santos is one of the gifts that the New York State Democrats gave to the Republicans.
Right.
So, and Speaker McCarthy's not giving it back.
Right. Now, Santos said that he's going to run for re-election again. Would you be totally shocked if you won? What do you think, Steve?
I would be, because I think that, at the end of the day, think about it this way. The Republican Party represents about 25% or so of the electorate. And if 40% of them still are crazy enough to support Santos or Trump, then it's still, in a general election, it's still not a big number. So I think a lot of the independents who tend to vote for Republicans, and a lot of the Republicans won't vote for him. So I can't see him. I could see him winning a primary, but I can't see him winning a general.
Especially if Swazi is the designated candidate, right?
Yeah, I think Tom would easily beat him. Tom, Tom's been around. He's a smart guy. I call him. He's a friend. And he knows how to win elections. He's lost elections and he's won elections, but he knows how to win them. And he's won in that district several times. People know him. He's known to be kind of a middle of the road guy, which kind of fits with most of that district. So I think that if he's the choice of the moderate Republicans or the independents that tend to vote with the Republicans, I don't think they'll have a problem voting for him. If they were voting for a far left, if it was a far left person they had to vote for, then I think there would be a bigger issue. I think, and I consider myself a pragmatic progressive with an MBA. So, but I'm still a progressive. And at the end of the day, I think that putting in a far left progressive won't work in that district. But if you get a guy like Tom, I think he'll win, and he'll win pretty easy.
What do you think, Blake?
Well, the New York County, so the Nassau County Republicans, they basically have thrown him out of the county Republican Party. The other portion of the district is in Queens County. The Queens County Republicans have still embraced Santos. So he would have some Republican support in Queens County. I don't know how many Republicans, maybe Steve could tell us how many Republican votes there are in the primary in Queens County as compared to Nassau County. But I don't see him, but Santos has, in my opinion, no possible path for victory in Nassau County of winning the primary. So I don't see how he gets past that point. And also, I think at some point, because I said his shelf life was May. I said that Santos won't be in Congress by May time. So it's not May yet. So I still have 30 days of wiggle room for my prediction to come true. But I do think his shelf life is coming due very soon.
But, we talked about this on this show before, about all his, ethics problem. And Steve, you said you didn't think he would be in office this long. So he's fooled everybody, right?
Actually, I had said that he would stay in office until he's indicted on campaign finance issues. I think I've said all along that that's the only thing that's going to get him out, because there's not enough will. You're certainly not going to, without an indictment, they're not going to remove him from office on the Republican side. So at the end of the day, they will wait until he is indicted, and I think at that point he's gone.
Do you think he will be indicted?
I think he will be indicted. I just think that it's going to take a while. Unfortunately, as we see with Donald Trump, the wheels of justice, when it comes to politicians, that turn very slowly.
So do you think he'll be indicted, Blake?
I think it's not if, it's how many times he will be.
Okay. If what both of you are saying is correct, McCarthy's going to fight tooth and nail to keep him in there, right? Because there's a schism between, the National Party, meaning McCarthy remaining speaker or keeping his speakership, and what's going on in the 3rd congressional district in New York. Those two aren't dancing, like they should be, right? Steve?
Yeah, no, I think there is a disconnect there. But, at the end of the day, the Congress, the Republican Congress members on Long Island don't need George Santos. As a matter of fact, he hurts them because everywhere they go, they hear about him. They go to town halls or they're on the streets, and people are like, "What are you doing about Santos?" And they're sitting there saying, "I condemned him, and I've asked him, I've demanded for him to resign." But so they're on record that they want him out, where McCarthy needs him. They don't need him. They don't need the aggravation. He brings aggravation to them. But McCarthy, whatever aggravation he gives him, he still needs that vote.
So ultimately, when it comes down to 2024, and if it's this close, McCarthy's going to want him to stay in there because Santos is a rubber stamp for McCarthy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He is, and what's going to happen is McCarthy will do a two-step. So Santos has no choices. He's only there because the speaker is consenting him to be there. So when McCarthy no longer needs him, when he can't squeeze Santos for the last political juice for the last vote that Santos can deliver in Congress, then McCarthy's going to ditch him, because McCarthy knows exactly, as Steve was saying, that he's an albatross around the national Republicans' neck. And also, they have to save their 4 seats that came out of New York.
Right.
So what they're going to do with the 2-step is they're going to use Santos for the votes he can have now to solidify the speaker's power. And then when all the important or the significant votes are done in Congress, if Santos doesn't head for the exits, McCarthy's going to push him out. And then he's going to be able to say that I pushed him out. Look, he was a bad apple, and we got rid of him. Don't beat up the other Republicans nationally, and particularly the ones from New York, to be tainted with this bad apple that we got rid of.
Elise Stefanik seems to still be in Santos' corner, right?
For now she is, and remember, she knows a lot. She was if she wasn't the creator of Santos, she certainly was in the room when it happened, and so she knows a lot. And she was an enabler of his political campaign.
Okay. What do you think, Steve?
She's a person that I don't understand, because, she's Harvard educated. She seemed to be rational her whole career, and she seems to now have gone nuts. I mean, she is a crazy white nationalist MAGA. And I am still amazed at that transformation from someone who seemed to be moderate, seemed to be intelligent, to go to a white nationalist pushing, white replacement theory, racist white replacement theories, just embracing everything that Donald Trump does. And it makes no sense to me. So I think she has hitched her wagon to the crazy racist MAGAs, and I don't see her getting off that train. It's really kind of everybody in Congress, she's the one that dumbfounds me the most, because you talk about selling your soul to the devil. I mean, this is absolutely crazy.
But Santos has aligned himself with Trump. And if Trump is going to be the nominee in the 3rd congressional district, would you say it's blue, purple, or red?
That district is a light blue. I mean, that's a district where the Democrats should get 57% of the vote or so.
Okay.
And, but the point with 57% of the vote is that that's a district that can flip.
Okay.
And it obviously did.
Right. So then Jay Jacobs needs a strong Democrat to ensure that turns blue again, right?
Right.
What do you think, Blake?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to take exception to what Steve called NY3. I would say it's more of a green district. That the voters there are they have a heightened concern about capitalistic concepts and keeping money in their pocket. And so I actually think it's a well-to-do parochial district, and those voters in NY3 are actually very narrow, and they're extremely narrow-minded. So even though they're well-educated and have big, large wallets, They have they're very narrow visions of the country and of themselves. So, and the Santos issue is more of an embarrassment to them, not because of his politics. They could care less about his politics. It's just that it's destroying their image of they have a facade of being thoughtful and kind and generous. And so their elected representative is a fraud. And what their concern really is that for an NY3 voter, especially a Republican primary voter, is they don't want that fraud to rub off on their thin facade.
Okay.
Sorry for being so negative of those NY3 voters out there. So you can send me emails and write to me if you're an NY3 voter and not happy with my assessment of you.
So, the Democratic challenger has not emerged yet. Now, we did a show with your friend Rima, and if Swazi becomes the designated candidate, somebody like Rima, does she have a chance of being in the primary and being successful?
I don't think anybody in the Democratic Party out in New York 3 can beat Tom in a primary. So if Tom runs, I can't see Rima running. I'm not sure about Robert Zimmerman. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know him enough to know where he would stand as far as running against Tom. But he was the county candidate last time, and I don't know if Robert would run against the county candidate if that county candidate was Tom. But that's the only question I have.
You thought he was a pretty weak candidate, right?
You know, I like Robert. He is a nice man. He has a good resume. I didn't say necessarily he was a weak candidate, but I thought he ran a very weak campaign.
Okay.
I knew it from the standpoint of I was campaign manager in Assembly District 19 in that district, and they never worked with us at all during that campaign. I never saw one canvasser from Zimmerman's district knocking on doors in Assembly 19, which to me, I think that is where our whole problem out in Long Island was, that Zimmerman had virtually no ground game. Hochul had no ground game. And I think that hurt a huge amount of not only the congressional seats, but the down ballot seats.
So if Hochul waged a better campaign on Nassau County, do you think Zimmerman could have won?
I wonder. I wonder if it would have, but it certainly couldn't hurt. It couldn't hurt. But they had no field game, and I reached out to the Hochul campaign to see if they were willing to work with us, and they weren't focused on Nassau County, which is what they told me. And that's why I think we lost some assembly, and more importantly, we lost some Senate seats out there.
So, Blake, is it the same thing in Brooklyn, where Hochul did not wage an effective campaign?
Right. She did not wage an effective. Well, she didn't run any campaign. She didn't do anything, and then we lost assembly seats in Kings County because of that, and we've lost city council seats to Republicans as well. You can't really blame the governor for that. But there's no platform. So the governor has no coattails. She has no plan to have any coattails. And actually, it's amazing. Just to follow up what Steve was saying about Nassau and the governor, even look at her now defunct housing proposal. She never, right? And that was really focused on Nassau County. I mean, some Suffolk, but mainly Nassau County. And even that proposal she had no buy-in from Nassau County. She never asked anyone in Nassau about this. Everyone in Nassau County opposed it. It was to say it was a half-baked plan would be kind to her. And it died.
So, we could spend the rest of the afternoon talking about politics, but ultimately, and I'm sure we'll talk again as the 2024 election unfolds. Do you think that George Zimmerman will be a case study of how bad politics could be, or do you think he'll be just a little footnote and everybody will forget him? What do you think, Steve?
I think we're going to be talking about him for a long time, and not in a good way. I think that I think he's one of those guys who's going to be the butt of jokes for a long time. This has really this became a national issue. I mean, I think you and I were talking earlier, Cynthia, that the comedian on the Correspondents' Dinner, Roy Wood Jr., he opened his monologue with a George Santos joke. So, I mean, this is the national, White House Correspondents' Dinner, and they're opening up the main speaker, the main comedian, with a Santos joke. I don't think that's going away.
So, what do you think? You think he'll be the case study of what's wrong with politics, Blake, or do you think he'll be forgotten?
We don't know yet. It depends how it ends. If it ends relatively soon, he'll just be a relic thrown into the dust pile of history. If he has to get pried out of Congress, or if he runs for re-election, either wins or loses, I think then he would have more resonance in a political history.
Mm-hmm.
But so basically, if Santos wants to be more than a footnote of national political history, then he needs to dig his hole a little bit deeper.
I don't think he really cares whether he gets good press or bad press. I think he thinks that any press is good. What do you think, Steve?
I don't know about that, but I will say that, this guy, the best word to describe what he has is chutzpah.
Right.
I mean, I would, God, if I can't imagine, I would never do that. But if I was in that situation, I would be hiding and not going anywhere. And this guy just goes out there with, with not a care in the world. I mean, it takes some kind of person to do that. It's certainly not me. But, oh my God, I mean, this guy, everywhere he goes, people are yelling at him and the press is yelling at him, and he seems to not give a damn. It's pretty funny.
Right. You think it's funny, or do you think it's sad, Blake?
I think it is instructional of the values of the public. I think Santos he's not even a mirror. He's more, I'm going to say, no, he's more than a mirror. He's actually a projection of ourselves. And so his deceit, his self-deception, the lies, the fraud, resonates with the voters. People want to be more entertained than they want to be represented.
Okay. That's a good point. And let's leave it at that, because, we still have a year and a half, at least, in Santos' term. So, this is going to be an ongoing saga. Let's continue this talk at a later date. You've been listening to Steve Bihar from Queens and Blake Morris from Brooklyn, and I'm Cynthia Pooler from Albany. And if you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Hey, Cynthia?
Yes.
Can I give myself a little plug?
Of course you can.
So I am running for New York City Council in the eastern part of Queens. And if you like what I have to say and my openness and my ability to say what I think without worrying about it, if you can go to my website. It's www.stevebehar.com. Just my name, STEVEBEHAR.com. And any support would be helpful. And again, thank you, Cynthia.
Blake, do you want to give yourself a little plug for something?
Let's see. I'm a practicing attorney in New York State. We're located in Brooklyn. So you can look me up on my website, blakemorris.com. If you have any legal issues or concerns, we mainly handle contract disputes, property damage, cannabis licensing.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
It is interesting.
Okay, so guys, we shall talk again because obviously George Santos is not going anywhere. You know, he'll be there for a while. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody for listening. Have a great day.
Sure.